and welcome. From overflowing waste bins to refuse dumped indiscriminately on street corners, Lagos is grappling with a growing waste management crisis. The city's rapid expansion seems to have outpaced collection systems, leaving residents frustrated and health concerns mounting. On this edition of Eyewitness Report, we focus on the challenges of waste collection and the increasing call for immediate response by the government to safeguard public health and restore environmental sanity. These and more shortly. I am Yomi Otaigbe. Lagos, Nigeria's bustling commercial hub and one of the largest economies in Africa, is grappling with a growing urban challenge. The city's rapid expansion appears to have outpaced its waste management system. Uncontrolled refuse disposal leaves residents concerned about their health and environment. In this report, we bring you first-hand accounts from eyewitnesses alongside in-depth coverage of how authorities are responding to this mounting crisis.
Across Lagos, heaps of uncollected refuse continue to dot major roads and residential areas, painting a grim picture of a metropolis under pressure. Indiscriminate dumping has become a common sight, with residents and traders resorting to reckless disposal when collection services fail. Late pickups have prompted some to dump waste along road medians, an unhealthy practice that had largely disappeared in Lagos but is now resurfacing.
They are not really as effective as they should be. I have houses in a number of places in Lagos and there's this same complaint everywhere. They don't come to pick up their refuse. It overflows and the entire estate becomes, full of maggots smelling everywhere. I have a property in Yanokpaja area. They don't come into their estate as often as they should, and yet they collect money. In my estate, I don't think I've seen them in the last 3 months come to pick refuse. I've had the opportunity of confronting one of the PSP operators, and their excuse was that they don't have a place to dispose what they have collected, and that their compactor truck is parked somewhere waiting to be offloaded. So they are really not as effective as they should be, yet they keep collecting money. They keep collecting money for work not done. I'm a living example, please, because I know they have come to collect money from me, and I asked them, when last did you collect refuse? Are you just looking at a building and collecting refuse, collecting the bills and not picking up our refuse? So that's my take. They should please let them do their work for what they are being paid for.
Wow, where I stay actually, they come to pick it up. So I can't really say much about that, but most times people don't want to pay for PSP to come and pick up their waste. So how do you expect one to do service for you and you don't pay for it? I think it's also coming from us, not playing our parts as individuals. That's what brings about it.
It has to be a strategic approach because for me, I think the residents don't have a particular place or where they are pouring the refuse. So if the government can, in a way, at least provide these containers and make it affordable, I think it will go a long way. Because definitely in a situation where things are difficult and what's it called now, the cost of the PSP coming to their places and getting it is high. Definitely you cannot but expect people to boycott such processes, even though it's laudable as keeping hygiene. But people will boycott it because of the cost. So the government can help in addressing that through that means.
We are the problem of ourselves in Lagos. Why I say so is, when you are putting refuge on the highway and you are not putting inside the carrier bags to tie it, and you scatter it everywhere. When motor passes around, we sprinkle everything on everywhere, and everywhere will be dirty, I tell you. I saw them putting it on the road. I'm saying this thing is not good. After you say government is not the problem, we are the problem of ourselves.
A place where there's law, people will obey it. I think the law in our country is not being obeyed because people just see it as nothing. They don't feel there's a law at all. So they can go out and dump their waste bin anywhere they like. And nobody's holding anybody responsible for it. So people will just do what they like.
Lagos State generates over 20,000 tons of waste daily. With a population of over 20 million that continues to grow daily, it has only 4 major landfill sites: Olushosun in Ojota, Ewuelepe in Ikorodu, Ekpe and Badagry, while the 5th in Igondo has been decommissioned. Managing this huge volume in Nigeria's commercial hub has become a major challenge for the government. Officials admit that waste collection is struggling to keep pace with Lagos population growth, compounded by traffic gridlock, inadequate equipment, and poor coordination among agencies. Consistent rainfall has also made access to some landfill sites extremely difficult for private sector operators working with the Lagos State Waste Management Agency, LOMA. In some cases, trucks travel outside Lagos to dump refuse, reducing the number of daily evacuation trips.
Currently, has been announced by our regulator, both LOMA and the Ministry of Environment, there is a current collaboration, interstate collaboration with Ogun State, where operators are encouraged or are enjoined to travel to Badagry, to Shagam to dump the waste. And you know that is quite a distance. That's also in addition of over 80 kilometers. And these trucks are not designed for such a long haul. They were to, before now, let me tell you this. Before now, each compactor truck was doing 2 trips to our disposal site. Sometimes they do 3 trips. And those are the things that we say that it's not the fault of the PSP. In a week, in those times, some few years back, when you do 2 trips per day, and you work from Monday to Saturday, a single compactor will have done 12 trips. But this thing got deteriorated that at a state you are doing only 6 trips in a week. At a state, it got reduced to 2 trips in a week. At a state, it got reduced to 1 trip in a week. All this deficit of 10 trips per week or even 11 or whatever, it is going to have a ripple effect on the overall service delivery because they are not being carted away. And it's not the fault of the PSP. The PSP collect and he wants to dispose so that he can go and service clients, but he couldn't dispose. So these are facts that, for instance, if all those trucks that are either traveling long distance or tied down somewhere, if they are free and then we can achieve about 20-30 minutes turnaround time, at the disposal site, they will be able to go back and collect the waste. And then the frontage of the waste generators will have been really, really cleared. And then there will be no waste actually flowing into the highway.
Challenges with the waste management infrastructure, clearly. And those challenges are become worse during the rainy season. Just even the waste you're looking at now is about 2 times heavier because of the rain, because it's soaked up water. And when you get to the landfill, it's slippery, it's flooded, it's difficult for the trucks to access, which leads to longer queues. Thankfully, Lagos State government has gone very far in finding solutions, the medium-term solutions. The short-term solution is what we're doing now. We started cleaning up statewide, more than 57 routes, 3,000 black spots. When we visit Olushosun, our next visit, you'll see the construction site where Lagos State government, in partnership with Zoom Lion Nigeria, is building a massive transfer loading station. It's going to be one of the biggest in Africa that can take 20 compactor trucks at a time so that the turnaround time will be much faster. And from that location, we're now going to take that waste to massive material recovery facilities that can process about 4,000 tons of waste daily. So that will be, I mean, and we're talking about a 6-month timeline. It's taken us a long time to get to this point. And we're hopeful. We want everyone in Lagos to pray that we'll be able to achieve that 6-month timeline. In addition, there are other projects. We talk about Lafarge. Also at Olusho, so they have a collection center. And they're going to expand that to other locations around the state. This is a massive cement industry, which was recently acquired by another Chinese company, Tsinghua. So they're going to expand, and they are hungry for waste. So that gives us another place to push our waste.
While many residents are allegedly denied services they pay for, waste managers insist that current government tariffs are no longer sufficient for effective collection.
Currently, there are over 420 or thereabouts operators operating in Lagos State currently. And as to the current tariff structure, how much is being charged, this is graduated and is prorated based on the social strata, in arriving at the tariff structure payable by the tenement. Naturally, you take into cognizance, what we call both social and economic strata of the people. The amount that is being paid by the people in Lekki, Aja, or whatever is different from the amount that is being paid, which is what we call high end. It's different from what is being paid in areas like Ojota or Ogudu, which is medium, whatever. You get to Ojota and all that. And it's also different from what is being paid by areas that we call low, because there's that classification, low, and high end. So the people in the low, which are in the majority, and we have also majority of the PSP in the low, the amount being charged in there is so ridiculous, and it cannot sustain the operation of the PSP operators. So, and that's why we've been clamoring since 2013, that there has to be a review of the current tariff structure. It will shock you to know that some areas are still paying as low as 300 naira per month. Per month. Some are still paying, 1,500, 2,000, and then some are paying as much as 5,000, 6,000, depending on because look, the rate that I'm giving you may not really make a lot of meanings to you, because now so many things are taken into consideration apart from the social and economic strata. Now, are you living in a flat? Are you living in a room by room? Are you living in a duplex? What type of waste do you generate? Some houses have a lot of gardens, so they have a lot of garden waste. But it will shock you to know that even people that are living in Face Me and Slap You are the ones that generate the most of the waste. Very heavy. But they don't pay. And this is where maybe government can come in to say, okay, we have to bridge in, because waste is not a social service so far as we know. It's no longer a social service. Perhaps at most, you can say it is a quasi-social service where government bridges, what you are unable to collect in a particular area. And that is why the model which is adopted all over the world, which is called a cross-subsidy, comes in. And in cross-subsidy, what it simply means is that the rich actually subsidizes the poor. Let me give you this instance. In 2022, when the current tariff was fixed, a brand new truck was sold for not more than, from Asia, not more than 17 million naira. 17 million naira. In 2011, actually, we, in collaboration with the administration of His Excellency, Mr. Baba Tunde Raji Fashola, we had an arrangement wherein brand new trucks were brought in for the PSP operators, and on a lease to own arrangement. It will shock you to know that those trucks of 2021, majority are still with the PSP operators, still operating there, because operators can manage this thing better. You understand? As you know, in government business is nobody's business. So now, currently, the truck that was sold at about 17 million naira or thereabout in 2022 is currently sold for about between 150 and 170 million naira. Tokumbo at that time, Tokumbo truck that we used to bring that they call Belgium, that we used to bring in from Europe, are sold for between 10-12 million naira. Right now, as I speak with you, it's being sold for between 55 and 65 million naira, depending on the grade. And the tariff remains static. Naturally, this is going to affect the overall service. I mean, it will affect the investment level.
Welcome back. We continue with Lagos waste management struggles and the state government's efforts at addressing the challenge.
Amid this challenge, the Lagos state government says strategic measures are in place to tackle the challenge, stressing that the traditional pick and dump model is no longer sustainable.
I've said it severally, and I will not be tired of saying it. We can't sustain a linear waste management system that we have done for over 4 decades, which means we've been used to pick and dump. Pick and dump cannot be sustainable. Let's even leave climate and others. We don't even have the land for it. Decades ago, Lucius was at the outskirts. This is an outskirt of Lagos. Today, look around you. It's an eyesore. So let us make waste a resource for wealth, for energy, and all sorts. And that is the transition we are going through now. You know for a fact Lafarge is taking our combustible waste to power their machines. That is out of it. You know that our fruit waste at Ikosi Fruit Market is working through a biodigester to power the whole market now. That's out of it. Now, if you take 4,250 and convert to recyclable plastics and compost fertilizer through harvest waste, that takes substantial out of it. If we now get harvest waste to hit the ground running, they say they want between 1,500 and 2,500 for energy. That also takes a chunk of it. In every developed climate of the world, you must start seeing waste as a resource. And that is when the change will be well felt by the citizens. But in the interim, we have to keep doing what we are doing. Get more compactors. The governor announced it himself. I said it before. We're also trying to see if we can get EV compactors. Also integrate this with what the PSP operators are doing. However, there are also areas that have grown beyond what those PSP were assigned to the routes can attend to. Narrow lanes, inner roads. We want to bring in tricycle compactors that will just go into those inner streets, take them out, rather than dumping those things on the streets or on the median. So that's the long term, but reforms take a while. It's not a magic wand, but we have to keep fixing what we have on ground, remediate while we move towards the bigger picture. And this is the future for Lagos.
For some Nigerians, waste is no longer waste, but a valuable resource. At recycling facilities, materials such as plastic bottles are sorted and processed, creating economic opportunities. Amid the mounting crisis, doubts linger over how far the state is harnessing waste as a resource to advance circular economy.
The problem with plastic recycling is that plastic comes in volume, but the means of exchange is by weight. And sometimes the weight and the rate at which the weight is bought is determined internationally, because plastic is one of the byproducts of petroleum. So whatever fluctuation that happens within the petroleum product also affects the plastic. And sometimes the virgin product could even be more cheaper than the recycled product. What is the essence of recycling of plastic? It is to reduce the cost of the new material, which is also what the circular economy is actually preaching. Reducing, the cost of doing this, and then for environmental sustainability, conservation, and all that and all that. But where the cost of a virgin material is now higher than the cost of recycling, people who are producing will not buy recycling material. Government has to incentivize plastic takeover or buyback. Because if I buy plastic, for instance, maybe somebody wants to sell a kg of plastic to me at 350 naira. There are different whatever. This is sorted. There are some that are not sorted. There are some that are baled. What we have here is we sorted some of these things by our women here. And if I'm able to produce, and then the off-taker that is, now this is already crushed plastic, though yet to be washed. I will show you the one that are washed. Those ones are exportable standard. If I bought the raw material at 600 naira per kg, and my off-taker is now saying they can't buy for me for more than 500 naira. So where is the profit? Where is the incentive for me to continue to recycle? You understand? So government has to really do something. Otherwise, people will stop picking plastic.
The immediate solution for every Lagosian is to sort your waste at source. Source your waste. The plastic, the paper and cardboard, the aluminum can, the glass, keep it separate. Keep it separate. Don't throw everything into the same. There are people ready to come in every community who are looking for these things. Don't let them pick it from your trash. Keep it separate in a bag, and when they come, you can give them. Some of them will even give you money for that item. So that's immediate solution that if even just 1 million Lagosians embrace that practice of sorting at source, we'll see an immediate difference. Because guess what? 90% of everything that we're dumping in the dump site now has value. So why are we dumping it in the dump site?
When it comes to waste disposal, I think we need to create more awareness. People are still not very conscious of the negative consequences of not disposing their waste properly. Only recently we noticed what happened, that Lagos almost got submerged by water due to the flood, the 3 days, 4 days rain, and then everybody was jittery. And then if they also understand that without disposing their waste properly, it could lead to epidemics. There's economic loss as a result of not disposing waste effectively. So I think the government should do more of awareness, more of sensitization, and then let people know that if you sort your waste properly, you dispose properly, you can get some economic benefit from it. It's nonchalant. We are just very nonchalant.
Government has been trying to make people collect waste, but I think people have not yet been exposed to it or know the benefit of collecting their waste, disposing their waste rightly. Because some few days ago, we see how Lagos had been flooded with water. But if these waste are properly collected and put to good use, for which some of us that are researchers have been doing, collecting waste, doing sustainability and putting them into good use, people see the benefit of it. But however, some people have been trying to collect waste, pay people for waste, and you can make wealth from waste too. But if people have been exposed to this, probably they will not dispose their waste the way they are doing now. And I think also that people, when they know that they can make money from waste, they will not dispose the waste the way they are doing it now.
Health experts warn that uncollected waste poses serious risks, from cholera outbreaks to respiratory infections, as refuse piles fester in densely populated communities. As Lagos advocates a permanent transition from linear to circular waste management, much still needs to be done, boosting the capacity of private operators, educating residents on proper disposal, and strengthening environmental laws to sanction offenders. Until then, the city continues to battle a mounting challenge, one that demands urgent response to safeguard public health and re-establish environmental order.
That brings us to the end of this edition. Thank you for staying with us on the program. I'm Yomi Otaigwe. See you next time.